Welcome to More Than Sunday. This is Andrea Coli. I am guest hosting for Chris Coli.
Andrea, you're supposed to say this is the CrossWinds Church More Than Sunday podcast. I think that's important, right?
Let's do it again.
No, let's not do it again.
Take two. Welcome to the CrossWinds Church More Than Sunday podcast.
Because
with your normal host who likes to make everybody do it his way.
That's not true. Who knows? There might be more.
We don't know.
More Than Sunday podcasts that are out there.
Well, we know there's more than one CrossWinds Church because we got that.
I did.
Did you?
I did. I have not talked about it yet, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, so on our social media, when we were talking about how church was moving to online only, we got a comment of somebody asking if the soup kitchen was still going to be open.
Right.
Or is that right?
I think it did say that. Yeah. And I thought we don't have a soup kit. Not that it would be great if we did have one.
We just don't.
We don't. And that was the end of it. Somebody just kindly responded, you must have the wrong place. So a couple days later, I got an email from the pastor of CrossWinds Church down in Southern California. And letting me know that a bunch of their people had somehow gotten an email that our service would be online that Sunday. This was the first Sunday.
And thinking it was their CrossWinds. All I can think is that they went to our website thinking it was their church. Right. Signed up
for the emails.
Which that's a good reminder that our listeners should sign up for the email because we have people from other churches signing up for our email. So if
true.
You as a regular part of CrossWinds aren't signed up, you need to get with it.
Yes. Yeah, right. So anyway.
CrossWinds Church podcast.
Right. The CrossWinds Church in the Bay Area. That's probably the most important one to say. Yeah. How you doing handling the, stay at home, shelter at home thing?
Listen, I'm the host. I'm the one asking the questions.
Today,
Chris, how are you doing at handling the stay at home?
I got my hair cut this last week.
Oh, really? How'd that happen?
It happened in the backyard.
Yeah.
Andrea got out some clippers that we have and did the sides and back of my hair. If people tune into our Easter Sunday service,
they're going to see a sharp haircut. The back was a little rough.
The back's a little sketchy.
Yeah, but don't turn around on the video and it should be fine.
I won't.
My hair, on the other hand, we still need to do some problem solving. It's going downhill.
I don't know what to do about your hair.
What we do is I just wear hats for the next 2 months. Yeah. It's not really going to be 2 months.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I went to Costco today. I actually got some toilet paper, lots of food. It was actually Costco was probably the most organized store I've been to in this whole thing. Was really impressed. In fact,
way to go, Costco.
Costco was I was in and out of Costco quicker today than I have probably ever been in my life in terms of, I got a parking spot up front.
Yep. And you got quite a few things.
I did. I got a lot of good
one
things.
of the things we needed was about a quarter of a cup of flour for a Disney replication recipe.
So we had this idea, since we can't go anywhere and we can't go to Disneyland or anything like that, we would try to start making some Disney things at home, I think was the idea, right? Quinn wants to do this.
Yeah.
And so...
making meaning food. Let's just be honest.
Oh, right. I'm sorry.
We're not. It's all about the food only.
So there's this one stand right near the Incredicoaster in California Adventure that has this thing called Jack Jack's Yum Yum cookies.
No, Num Num.
Oh,
aren't they Num Num? I don't know.
I thought it was Yum Yum. What's Num Num?
I think that's what he says. He's a baby.
Okay. Either way.
Babies can't pronounce
They're these huge, delicious, warm cookies. They always taste like they just came out of the oven.
The problem is you just got off this coaster where if you're like me, you feel nauseous after this. And then a giant cookie is the last thing you want.
I know, right.
Unless you're our kids, in which case it's the only thing you want.
It's true. So we needed some ingredients and we bought some baking soda because we were all out. We bought how big is this bag?
Okay, wait. First of all, real quick, back to the baking soda.
Yeah.
we checked our baking soda and it had expired. And so I was like, hey, get baking soda. The recipe called for about a teaspoon.
Mm-hmm.
The bag of baking soda that came back from Costco was like,
it's right there.
It's
go check
as if they could see it.
I know. Go
what
check how much it weighs.
Okay.
I'm so curious. We got to tell everybody what this is.
13 and a half. Okay. 13 and a half pounds. 13 and a half pounds of baking soda. So if anybody in CrossWinds needs baking soda, let me know. Real. Direct message me. I'll leave it on my porch. You can come get it.
Hey, at least it doesn't expire. Oh, that's right.
Doesn't?
It does.
Okay, but wait, the flour. The flour is worse.
Okay, so I'll explain this. So they did not have any flour at Costco. And we've noticed they've not had flour at any of the supermarkets.
So many people are baking. They're all bored.
Right. And
all you can do is bake.
The two things we couldn't find at Costco were vanilla extract and flour. So, and I knew we were not going to be able to find flour at the grocery store. So I was like, Quinn, let's think, where could we go? And I thought, I know where. Contreras Market over on Pine Street in Livermore. It's got a taqueria in it, and it's basically a Mexican supermarket. Super is probably the wrong word. A Mexican
whatever's
market.
The opposite of small market.
Pequeño.
Boutique. No, don't do that.
I've been doing a lot of Duolingo, learning Spanish over the shelter in place.
Stay on the flour.
Anyway,
okay.
So you go there, and they do not have any small bags of flour, but they have lots of large bags of flour.
Just so you guys can picture, I want you to imagine the pillow you sleep on at night and then shrink it by about 2 inches.
It's
That's
true.
how big this bag of flour.
We should post a picture of this flour bag. It is a pillowcase. It's fabric.
Yeah, it's like we bought it during the Depression.
Right. It looks like nothing. I've never seen anything like this before.
So again, if anyone needs flour, let us know. We'll leave some for you.
Quinn told me that my mom had told her once that back in the day, they would make kids' clothing out of the bags that the flour came in. And I think that's and so because of it, they started making the bags look pretty.
They started putting like flower
designs,
print on it.
And that's exactly what is sitting on our counter right now.
Yeah.
I have no idea where we're going to put the rest of this flour once we get some of it into our canister.
Well, and just to cap off the story, to make the cookies, Quinn didn't even need to use this flour. We did have enough, but Chris was so worried that we might run out. But Chris was concerned.
No, I just am
that we could someday run out of flour.
I don't want to keep going to the grocery store every 2 days.
Good news. We'll have to never go again for flour. We're set.
And every time we go, there's something that they don't have that we need. So when I found flour,
you buy flour.
It might be 2 months till we can find flour again.
This is going to last a lot longer than 2 months. True. Okay.
Hey, but if anyone needs flour, let us know.
I said that already.
Oh, okay.
All right. So this is what we've been doing. Now, the truth is, though, Chris, you have, I have to say, very diligently been working your kind of normal scheduled message writing, meetings, all these things, not in person, of course.
Yeah.
And I, for one, have enjoyed sitting in our living room and watching. I never get to sit next to you at church. I finally get to sit next to you on the living room couch.
Yeah.
Watching you on the TV.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It's a little weird to watch yourself preaching on Sunday. No doubt about it.
Yeah, definitely. But I think I speak on behalf of all of us. We're thankful that, we have a team that can put up a service and that you're teaching and all that. This last week, we had ended the Fermata series, and you did sort of a standalone Palm Sunday kind of thinking about this idea of the cross and really how it related to even what we're dealing with today.
Right.
I'm sure everyone heard your message, but just for the few from the CrossWinds in Southern California who might be listening, who maybe didn't hear it.
Yeah, right.
Can you just give us a little rundown of kind of what your premise was this week?
Yeah, I think the basic premise of it was that for a long time, I have been told, I think we have been taught that God the Father abandoned God the Son, Jesus, when he was on the cross. That when Jesus was on the cross, God abandoned him. And the reason we know it is because Jesus says this, what I called in the message, really terrible line, just terrible because nobody should ever have to say it, which is, my God, why have you forsaken me? And in the message, I explained that that's actually a quote. It's the beginning of a song. It's the beginning of a song that David wrote in Psalm 22. The song opens with, my God, why have you forsaken me? And as you read the psalm, you can read all these other things that would have very much been a part of the song Jesus would have been singing. I don't mean to say he was literally singing on the cross. I think it was more than anything a prayer Jesus was praying, but he was praying this prayer of David, Psalm 22. And I just walked through how by the time we get to verse 3 in the song, it's actually really positive, and he's saying things like, God, you're somebody we can put our trust in. We cry out to you, and we're saved. And because of that, I don't think that God the Father abandoned him. I think that God was there. The Father was with him the whole time. I got to stop saying God because it implies Jesus was not God.
Right.
You get the point.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I know that as you were preparing for this weekend, this last weekend, there was a lot in the psalm that even further correlated to what Jesus was going through and kind of even more supports this idea.
Yeah.
Having a podcast like this gives us the chance to delve into some of those things you maybe don't have time for on Sunday.
I know. I wish we did this every week because there's always so many things that hit the cutting room floor.
Right. Well, now's your chance.
Now's my chance.
Now's your chance. So tell us a little bit of kind of more of those parallels or just more that lines up with this psalm that David wrote.
Yeah.
That Jesus.
Here's what I'd even say. If you're if you're listening to this and you are sheltered in place, which many of you are, and you're sitting at home, grab a Bible or pull your Bible app up on your computer, your phone, whatever, and pull up Psalm 22. And let me just show you some of these. Can I I won't take forever. These podcasts are only supposed to be about 15 to 20 minutes. We're already at 12, but can I?
That's what happens when I host. It's way too much talking.
It's true. So let me just show you some of these that parallel what Jesus was going through on the cross. And again, it's why Jesus would have chosen this. And then I want to end it showing you something really, really important, which I think just proves the point that this is a prayer Jesus was praying in its entirety. All right. So look, Psalm 22. Verse 1, my God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from saving me, so far from my cries of anguish? Completely something you could see Jesus thinking in the moment that he is there, right?
Right.
A part of the prayer or song of David that he could relate to. Cut to verse 6. But I am a worm and not a man, scorned by everyone, despised by the people. All who see me mock me, they hurl insults, shaking their heads. He trusts in the Lord, they say. Let the Lord rescue him. Let him deliver him, since he delights in him. That line right there makes me think of this moment where they say, if you're really the Messiah, if you're the Savior, save yourself to Jesus. And I think it's the same kind of thing. It's a parallel to what Jesus is going through on the cross. Verse 10, we didn't get to talk about this on Sunday. But from birth I was cast on you. From my mother's womb, you have been my God. Now, any one of us could say that, right? From my mother's womb, you have been my God.
Right.
But when you read that in the context later of knowing Jesus is praying this prayer, who more has been connected to God in their mother's womb than Jesus, right? I mean, that is incredibly important when you look at this in that context.
And meaningful to see his mother there.
Oh, yeah. Great point. I hadn't even thought of that. Yeah, his mother is there watching. Yeah, that's absolutely true. And meaningful to call back to the beginning of the Jesus story, really. In this moment.
Yes, exactly. Especially in light of what's coming.
Okay, verse 14, another one. I'm poured out like water, and all my bones are out of joint. What we celebrate at communion is his blood poured out for us. Next part of that verse is my heart has turned to wax. It is melted within me. My mouth is dried up like a potsherd. I don't know if I'm saying that word right. Potsherd?
Potsherd is the only other option. That doesn't sound right.
And my tongue sticks to the roof of my mouth. You lay me in the dust of death. Okay. I think of the moment when the soldiers offer Jesus a sponge with vinegar on it. When I read that line, to know that he is thirsty on the cross and that they would offer him this. And yet in verse 15, we talk about a dried mouth, right?
Right.
Again, it's just this parallel that I think is really important.
Yeah. And one thing you pointed out on Sunday was it's when you read this psalm, it's almost more about Jesus than David at the time. And that's one right there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Verse 16, dogs surround me. A pack of villains encircles me. They pierce my hands and my feet. All my bones are on display. People stare and gloat over me. They divide my clothes among them, and they cast lots for my garment. I don't know why I said it that way.
My garment.
Verse 20, deliver me from the sword, my precious life, from the power of the dogs. The sword, again, we know that Jesus is ultimately pierced in the side.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now here is where we see it turn toward good again, right? So that's a lot of bad news in the first part of that chapter. And this is kind of the part where we ended it on Sunday, but I just want to read this verse 24. For he has not despised or scorned the suffering of the afflicted one. Just think about that. He has not despised me or scorned my suffering. Next line in there. He has not hidden his face from him, the afflicted one, from Jesus, but has listened to his cry for help. This is why I say it's so hard for me to believe that God the Father abandoned Jesus, because right here, if Jesus is praying this entire prayer on the cross, he's getting to verse 24. And I don't mean to say he's praying it all out loud, because this is a person who can probably barely breathe as they're hanging on the cross, let alone get words out. In fact, and you're going to hear this in a second when we get to it, what are the words you would get out? Well, you might get out the beginning of the prayer, and you might get out the end of the prayer. And we're going to talk about the end of the prayer in a second.
Right. Well, and since you're not getting all of it out, what we're reading in the gospel stories are what some of them heard.
Yes.
So you're not only not getting it all out, but the disciples there are only hearing some of what you're getting out.
That's right.
And in then fact, only writing some.
And the disciples knew Psalm 22, right?
Right.
So here's the thing. When they say that he said, my God, why have you forsaken me? It's not lost on them that he's beginning this prayer.
Right.
And when he says what he says is to close it, it's not lost on them that he's closing Psalm 22. So again, he has not hidden his face from him, but has listened to his cry for help. So all these years that I grew up in church, I had been under the impression that the Father abandoned the Son on the cross, that as he took on our sin, God just said, can't have anything to do with you. I am now abandoning you. And don't get me wrong. I do believe, we should believe that Jesus took on our sin. But I don't know that God the Father abandoned Jesus who took on our sin any more than Jesus abandons us for continuing to sin.
Right.
Or abandoned anybody in the Gospels who was a sinner.
Yeah, I think it's one of those questions for me. Same thing. I was told that and was like, well, he had so much sin on him. God was so holy. He couldn't look at it. He had to look away.
Yeah.
That I didn't even know how to ask the question of like, what? That doesn't make sense. So when you say that now, it almost helps me know what the question is that I didn't even know to ask. Yeah. And it makes so much more sense.
God the Father has not hidden his face from Jesus, but has listened to his cry for help. Okay, now, one last thing I want to show you, and this is going to take just a couple of seconds, but it's worth it. All right? If you go to verse 29, this is the last three verses, 29. All the rich of the earth, this is how the psalm ends when David finishes. All the rich of the earth will feast and worship. All who go down to the dust will kneel before God, those who cannot keep themselves alive. I didn't mean to say alive. Posterity will serve God. Future generations will be told about the Lord. So David's celebrating here. And he ends it with this verse. They will proclaim his righteousness, declaring to a people yet unborn. Declaring to a people who are of future generations and generations beyond that and generations beyond that, for thousands of years, people will proclaim God's righteousness and declare to their ancestors this simple 4-word phrase ends the psalm. He has done it. God has done it. What has he done? He has redeemed the earth. He's taken bad things that have happened, all these bad things that David has listed, and he's turned it to good. He's made a difference in the world, and he's brought salvation. He is saved in this moment. He has done that. Now, here's what's so cool to me. If you look at the book of John, and in chapter 19, we read the final words Jesus says on the cross. This is John 19, verse 30. When he had received the drink, this is after they lift up the vinegar and they put this in his mouth, lift it to his lips. It says in verse 30, when he had received the drink, Jesus said, "It is finished." And with that, he bowed his head, gave up his spirit. All right. Those words, "it is finished," could also be translated, "he has done it."
Wow.
In fact, if we go back to Psalm 22, we could translate "he has done it" there, "it is finished." So when Jesus says "it is finished," I'll just ask you, Andrea, since you're the only one here, what have you always thought "it is finished" means?
I guess I always was told it was just, now I did it. You know, my work is done.
This really tough 3 days of being, brought into this week of coming into the city, this week of being tortured. That's finished?
No, like his work on earth.
This 3 years of ministry is finished.
Yeah.
But we know that that's not finished because Jesus' ministry continues.
Right, that's true.
Yeah, what is finished? I mean, it's an interesting question.
Yeah, I guess
that we should ask.
Yeah, I guess I've thought of it as the work of salvation.
The work of salvation.
But even that's, I guess, not finished.
Well, no.
Well, with the way of salvation has now been made.
I think that is finished. I think that is right. I think that's the right answer. He has done it means as well, he has done the work of salvation. God has saved us. So I say that to say, I think Jesus on the cross doesn't just pray the first lines of this prayer. I think he prays the last line of this song or this prayer that David wrote in Psalm 22. It is finished. He has done it. And if you were to just for a moment imagine Jesus on the cross after all of this has gone on, ending his thoughts as they've done this stuff. They've thrown dice to see who gets his clothes. They've hung a sign over his head that says King of the Jews. They've put a crown of thorns on him. They've tortured him. To think that his last thoughts are those last 3 verses of Psalm 22. All the rich of the earth are going to feast and worship. All who go down to the dust are going to kneel before God. Those who can't keep themselves alive. Posterity will serve God. Future generations will be told about the Lord. They will all proclaim his righteousness, declaring to a people yet unborn, generation after generation after generation, God has done it. And then he bows his head and gives up his spirit. I think that's a powerful way to read what happens on the cross and to really understand that I'm not making it up when I say that I think he's really praying Psalm 22, that we have evidence of a bookended prayer, the first lines and the last lines, he makes sure to get those out.
Yeah. So for us who are now heading into, we're in the beginning of Holy Week, we're thinking toward the crucifixion, Good Friday, and then Easter. How does this help us as we consider the crucifixion?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that as we tend to walk into the Good Friday experience, we tend to look at it as a day of mourning and grieving and struggle. And I think that's appropriate. In fact, I think what Jody's put together for us for this Good Friday is really a day to just kind of reflect on grieving. And not only is that appropriate every Good Friday, but it's appropriate especially in the season we're in right now, in the things that are happening around us with this virus and everything else. I also think that when you read Psalm 22 in its entirety and you read that into Jesus' experience on the cross, you see that it's a day of celebration. It is finished has the potential to sound like the really bad ending to a really bad day. It is over, finally. But when we read, God has done it, like he has done the thing, that I was brought here to do. He's done the thing that all of time has been leading toward, the redemption
that only he could do.
Yes, the redemption of his people that he loves. I think Good Friday then becomes a day of celebration as well. And I guess I'd say to us as we go into this Holy Week and we start to get closer and closer to Friday and lead toward the cross, that as much as it's a day of grieving, and we're going to have it be that this Friday, and then Sunday always becomes, Easter Sunday, the day of celebration, that there is something to celebrate in the middle of all of this too. And even in the middle of our suffering that we're in right now,
right,
to remember God saves. He saves. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good to get to kind of hear some of these things that we miss out on that you are studying and that don't make it quite to the sermon. So thank you for that insight. Everybody listening, I hope that that's something you can carry with you this week as you ponder Good Friday, but also the victory that was in it. See you next time.
Thanks, everybody.